My baby shower surrounded by family and friends. My husband leaned in and whispered, "The baby ice not mine." Then he stood up, took my cousin's hand and walked out, leaving me 8 months pregnant and shattered. But 9 months later,
the baby booty slipped from my trembling fingers, landing silently on the pink and blue tablecloth as 30 pairs of eyes watched my world collapse in real time. "She's not mine." Mitchell had whispered those 3 words directly into my ear, his breath hot against my neck as I sat surrounded by gift wrap and congratulations cards. Then he stood up, straightened his tie and walked straight to my cousin Natalie, the same Natalie who'd been helping me plan this shower for months, and took her hand. "We're leaving," he announced to the room, his voice steady and cold. "The charade is over." My 8 months pregnant belly felt like it was crushing my lungs. The baby kicked hard as if she knew. As if she could feel my heart shattering into 1,000 pieces right there in my mother-in-law's pristine living room. "Mitchell." My voice came out as a whisper. "What are you?" "Don't." He held up his hand without even looking at me. "Just don't, Emma. We both know this has been coming." Natalie, beautiful, childless 25-year-old Natalie, squeezed his hand and gave me a look that wasn't quite pity and wasn't quite triumph. It was worse. It was relief. "I'm sorry, Em," she said, and the nickname she'd called me since we were kids felt like acid in my ears. "But we're in love. We have been for months." The room was so quiet I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the corner. 30 women who'd come to celebrate my first baby now sat frozen, watching my husband walk out on me at my own baby shower. With my cousin, my blood, my mother-in-law Catherine, finally broke the silence. "Well," she said, setting down her teacup with a sharp clink, "I suppose this explains why the baby doesn't look like our family in the ultrasound photos." The cruelty in her voice hit me like a slap. This woman who'd pretended to love me for 3 years, who'd helped me pick out nursery colors just last week, was now sitting there with satisfaction written all over her face. "Catherine," my best friend Mia snapped from across the room. "Are you serious right now?" "Oh, I'm quite serious," Catherine replied, her thin lips curving into something that wasn't quite a smile. "I never trusted her. Mitchell deserves better than some little gold digger who probably got pregnant on purpose to trap him." The words felt like knives, each one finding its mark. I tried to stand, my pregnant body awkward and heavy, but my legs wouldn't hold me. The room spun. Before we continue, please write in the comment which country you are watching this video. We love knowing where our global family is tuning in from. And if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe. Your support helps us bring even more epic revenge tales of life. Enjoy listening. "Emma, breathe." Mia was suddenly beside me, her hand on my back. "Don't listen to her. Don't listen to any of them." But it was too late. The damage was spreading like poison through the room. I could see it in their faces. The doubt, the judgment, the whispered conversations that would start the moment I left. My own Aunt Linda, Natalie's mother, stood up and brushed invisible crumbs from her dress. "Well, I suppose we should go," she said, not meeting my eyes. "This is unfortunate." Unfortunate. My marriage imploding in front of everyone I cared about was unfortunate. One by one they filed out. Some mumbled awkward apologies. Others just left in silence. Within 20 minutes the only people left were Mia, my sister Claire and me, sitting in a room full of unopened baby gifts and shredded wrapping paper. Claire's voice was gentle. "Let's get you home." "This is my home," I whispered, looking around the house Mitchell and I had bought together 2 years ago. The house where we'd painted the nursery yellow because we wanted to be surprised. The house where he'd held me every night and whispered about our future. "Not anymore," Mia said firmly. "Not after what he just did. We're packing your things. Tonight." But where would I go? I was 8 months pregnant, my part-time job at the library barely covered groceries, and Mitchell had always handled the finances. I didn't even know how much money we had in our accounts. That night, as Mia and Claire helped me pack, I found out. "Emma." Claire's voice was tight. "You need to see this." She was holding our laptop, our bank statements pulled up on the screen. Our joint checking account, the one that should have had our savings for the baby, showed a balance of $247. "He cleaned us out," I breathed. "He took everything." Mia scrolled through the transactions. "Look at this. He's been transferring money out for months. Small amounts so you wouldn't notice." My phone buzzed. A text from Mitchell. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The lawyer will contact you about the divorce. The house is in my name, so you need to be out by Friday. 3 days. He was giving me 3 days. The baby isn't yours? I typed back, my fingers shaking. We both know you were seeing someone else last Christmas. Stop playing games. I stared at the message until the words blurred. Last Christmas. He was talking about Jake, my study partner from my online accounting class. The one I'd grabbed coffee with exactly twice. The one who was gay and married to his husband of 10 years. Mitchell knew that. He'd met Jake. He'd shaken his hand at the Christmas faculty party. This wasn't about paternity. This was about wanting out and needing a reason that would make everyone else blame me instead of him. He's lying, I whispered to myself. He knows he's lying. But it didn't matter. The story was already out there, spreading through our small town like wildfire. By morning, I'd lost my husband, my home, my extended family, and apparently my reputation. 1 month later, I held my daughter Ashley in my arms in the delivery room of St. Mary's Hospital. She had Mitchell's dark hair and his stubborn chin. She had his long fingers and his mother's nose. She looked exactly like the baby photos Catherine kept on her mantle. I took pictures. Lots of pictures. Mitchell didn't come to the hospital. Neither did his family. But Mia was there, and Claire, and my parents who'd driven 12 hours to meet their granddaughter. She's perfect, Mom whispered, tears in her eyes. Absolutely perfect. I named her Ashley Grace Mitchell, keeping my maiden name. Mitchell had already filed paperwork to remove himself from the birth certificate before she was even born. We lived in a tiny apartment above the bakery downtown. Mrs. Martha, the owner, had taken pity on me and offered it for cheap rent in exchange for help with her books. It wasn't much. 1 bedroom, a galley kitchen, and a bathroom with a window that didn't close properly, but it was ours. For 6 months, I poured everything into being a mother. I worked part-time for Mrs. Martha, took freelance bookkeeping jobs online during Ashley's naps, and slowly rebuilt some semblance of a life. But I watched. I listened. I waited. Mitchell had married Natalie in a quick courthouse ceremony 2 months after Ashley was born. They moved into a bigger house across town, the kind with a 3-car garage and a pool that he'd always said we couldn't afford. Catherine made sure everyone knew that Mitchell had escaped a terrible situation, and that poor Natalie had to deal with the mess that woman left behind. The town had picked sides and most had chosen his. Then Mia brought me the first piece of ammunition I needed. You need to see this, she said, setting her laptop on my kitchen table. I've been doing some digging. It was Natalie's social media, posts I hadn't been able to see since she'd blocked me everywhere. But Mia had screenshots. Photos of Natalie and Mitchell together. At dinner. On weekend trips. At the beach. All time-stamped from 11 months ago. 2 months before I got pregnant. Look at this one. Mia pointed to a photo of them kissing under mistletoe. Christmas Eve last year. Posted December 24th at 11:47 p.m. The same Christmas Eve Mitchell had told me he was working late at the office. The same night he'd come home smelling like perfume and claimed it was from his coworker's goodbye party. The same Christmas that he'd later claim I was cheating, when I'd been home every night by 6 p.m., making dinner and waiting for him. They're not even trying to hide the timeline, Mia said. Look at her captions. Enjoying with my love. 1-year anniversary dinner. She's been documenting their entire affair. I stared at the photos until they burned into my memory. Mitchell's hands on her waist. His smile. The real one, the one I hadn't seen in months before he left. The way he looked at her like she was the center of his universe. The way he used to look at me. I need copies of all of these, I said quietly. Emma, what are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time people knew the truth. The second piece came from an unexpected source. Catherine herself. I was at the grocery store with Ashley, trying to avoid the judgmental stares I'd grown used to, when I overheard Catherine talking to her friend Helen in the next aisle. Oh, the girl is definitely Mitchell's, Catherine was saying. You should see her. He's got the Gordon nose and everything. But Mitchell had to get out of that marriage somehow. Emma was bleeding him dry with her shopping and her demands. I'd clipped coupons for 3 years and bought my clothes at thrift stores. The poor boy, Helen replied. And now he has to pay child support. Not a penny, Catherine said with satisfaction. He's not on the birth certificate, remember? And Emma's too proud to ask for a paternity test. She knows it would just embarrass her more when everyone finds out about her cheating. I stood there with my cart, Ashley gurgling happily in her carrier, and listened to my ex-mother-in-law admit that she knew her son was lying. That she knew Ashley was his daughter. That she was actively participating in covering it up. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Mitchell's better off without her," Catherine continued. "And Natalie's pregnant now too, so they can have a real family. A legitimate one." My blood turned to ice. Natalie was pregnant. "How far along?" Helen asked. "4 months. They're thrilled. This one will be planned, wanted. Not like that other situation." That other situation. My daughter was an other situation. I had everything I needed. That night I called my lawyer, a scrappy young woman named Rachel who'd taken my case pro bono after hearing my story. "Catherine just gave us everything," I told her. "She admitted Mitchell knows Ashley is his. She admitted they're covering it up. And I have it all recorded. Emma, this is huge. We can file for paternity and child support immediately. The recording proves bad faith." "I want more than child support," I said. "I want them to pay for what they did to me. To Ashley. I want everyone to know the truth." "What are you thinking?" I looked at my daughter sleeping peacefully in her crib. She deserved better than this. She deserved a father who claimed her, grandparents who loved her, a family who didn't treat her like a dirty secret. "I'm thinking it's time for a paternity test. A very public one." The plan took 2 months to execute perfectly. First, Rachel filed for paternity and child support, using Catherine's recorded confession as evidence of Mitchell's fraud. The motion included a request for genetic testing and back child support from birth. While that was working its way through the courts, I did my own detective work. It turned out Natalie hadn't been quite as careful about covering her tracks as she thought. Her best friend Jenna, who worked at the bank, had gotten drunk at a girls' night and let slip that Natalie had been bragging about stealing Mitchell away from his boring wife for over a year. "She said she got pregnant on purpose," Jenna told me, guilt written all over her face. "She wanted to make sure Mitchell would leave you for her. She was obsessed with him, Emma. Like scary obsessed." More evidence. More recordings. I also discovered that Mitchell's big promotion at work, the one that had supposedly allowed them to afford the fancy house, was actually a loan from Catherine. A loan secured against the house Mitchell and I had shared. The house he'd claimed was only in his name. It wasn't. Our marriage had made me a joint owner automatically under state law, regardless of whose name was on the original deed. Mitchell had committed fraud by forcing me out and then using it as collateral. Rachel was practically giddy when I brought her this information. "They're going to owe you everything," she said. "The house, back child support, damages for emotional distress. Emma, you're going to be able to take care of Ashley properly." But I still wanted more than money. I wanted justice. I wanted them to feel the same humiliation they'd put me through. I wanted everyone to know the truth. The opportunity came in the form of Natalie's baby shower. Yes, she was having a baby shower. In the same town where she'd helped destroy me at mine. And she'd invited half the same people, including some of my former friends who'd cut me off after the scandal. Mia brought me the invitation. "She's got some nerve," she said. "Look at this thing." It was elaborate, thick cardstock, gold foil, professional calligraphy. Everything my hastily planned shower hadn't been. The theme was "A Prince is Coming," and it was being held at the country club. "I have an idea," I told Mia. "But I'm going to need your help." The paternity results came back 3 days before Natalie's shower. 99.97% probability that Mitchell Gordon was Ashley's father. Rachel filed them with the court immediately, along with a motion for emergency child support and a lien against Mitchell's assets pending the fraud investigation. But I didn't want him to find out through his lawyer. I wanted him to find out the way I'd found out about his affair. In public. In front of everyone. The country club was packed. Natalie had clearly spared no expense. Ice sculptures, a string quartet, servers in white jackets carrying champagne. She looked radiant in a flowing pink dress, her hand resting on her 5-month bump. Mitchell stood beside her like the proud husband, accepting congratulations. Catherine held court near the gift table, regaling anyone who'd listen with stories about her wonderful new daughter-in-law. I watched from across the parking lot, sitting in my car with Ashley on my lap. She was 9 months old now, babbling and reaching for everything. Mitchell's daughter who he'd never held. Mia was inside, playing her part perfectly. She'd managed to get herself invited through a mutual friend, and she'd been documenting everything on her phone. At exactly 3 p.m., just as Natalie was opening her gifts, my phone buzzed. Here. They're all here. Are you ready? I looked down at Ashley, who chose that moment to give me a huge, gummy smile. Ready, baby girl? I whispered. Time to meet your daddy. I walked into that country club like I owned it. Ashley was dressed in the most beautiful white dress I could afford, her dark hair in tiny pigtails, looking absolutely perfect. The room went silent when they saw me. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Someone dropped a champagne glass. Mitchell turned white. Natalie's mouth fell open. Catherine recovered first. What is she doing here? She hissed. Someone call security. I don't think they'll want to remove me, I said calmly, my voice carrying across the silent room. Not when I have such good news to share. I walked straight to Mitchell, my daughter in my arms. Mitchell, I said sweetly. I wanted you to be the first to know. The paternity results came back. He couldn't speak. He just stared at me, then at Ashley, then back at me. 99.97%, I continued. Congratulations. You're a father. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, the scraping of chairs as people turned to get a better look. That's impossible, Natalie said, but her voice was shaky. He said. He lied, I said simply. Just like he lied about me cheating. Just like he lied about wanting out of our marriage. The truth is, he'd been having an affair with you for months before I got pregnant. I have the photos to prove it. Mia appeared at my side with her phone, holding it up so everyone could see the screenshots we'd prepared. December 24th, Christmas Eve, Mia announced. Mitchell Gordon and Natalie Phillips, posted to social media 11 months ago. 2 months before Emma conceived. The photos flashed on the screen. Mitchell and Natalie kissing. Mitchell and Natalie at dinner. Mitchell and Natalie on vacation. Catherine tried to intervene. This is preposterous. Mitchell would never. Oh, but you know he would, Catherine, I said, turning to face her. Because you told Helen Murphy at Kroger's last month that you knew Ashley was Mitchell's daughter. You said she had the Gordon nose. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Catherine's voice filled the room. Oh, the girl is definitely Mitchell's. You should see her. She's got the Gordon nose and everything. The silence was deafening. You knew, someone whispered. You all knew. Mitchell finally found his voice. Emma, this isn't how you wanted people to find out. I asked. You mean you didn't want them to know you abandoned your pregnant wife and newborn daughter? You didn't want them to know you committed fraud and stole our house? You didn't want them to know you let everyone think I was a cheater when you were the one having an affair? Ashley chose that moment to let out a happy squeal and reach toward Mitchell. The resemblance was unmistakable. She looked exactly like his baby photos, the ones Catherine had shown everyone for years. She's beautiful, someone breathed. She looks just like Mitchell did as a baby. Natalie was crying now, her perfect shower in ruins. Mitchell, tell them it's not true. But Mitchell couldn't. Because everyone could see it was true. The evidence was right there in my arms, babbling and smiling and looking exactly like her father. The court has already ordered back child support, I continued. 9 months worth. Plus damages. Plus my half of the house that Mitchell used as collateral for a loan without my knowledge. Catherine made a choking sound. The house Emma co-owned, Mia said helpfully. The one Mitchell claimed was only his when he kicked out his pregnant wife. Turns out that was fraud. The whispers were getting louder now. People were pulling out their phones, taking pictures, sharing the drama in real time. Mitchell finally tried to take control. Everyone needs to calm down. This is between Emma and me. No, I said firmly. This stopped being between us when you humiliated me in front of 30 people at my baby shower. When you let your mother call me a gold digger. When you abandoned your daughter and let this entire town think I was a cheater. I looked around the room, making eye contact with each person who'd turned their back on me. For 9 months, you all believed I was the villain in this story. You believed I trapped Mitchell with a baby that wasn't his. You believed I was unfaithful. You crossed the street to avoid me. You whispered about me at the grocery store. You made me feel like I was nothing. My voice was getting stronger with each word. But I was never the villain. I was the victim. Mitchell is Ashley's father. He always knew it. And he let all of you help him destroy my reputation to cover up his own affair. Natalie sobbed. Mitchell, do something. But there was nothing he could do. The truth was out. The evidence was overwhelming. And everyone could see it. I just have one question, I said, bouncing Ashley gently in my arms. For those of you who believed his lies, who turned your backs on me, who made me feel like I deserved what happened, how does it feel to know you were wrong? The silence stretched on forever. Finally, Mrs. Rodriguez from the flower shop stepped forward. Emma, she said quietly. I'm sorry. We should have known better. Others began to nod, to murmur apologies. The tide was turning. But I wasn't done. Mitchell, I said, turning back to him. Would you like to hold your daughter? He stared at Ashley, his face a mixture of guilt, fear, and something that might have been longing. He started. Because she's never been held by her father, I continued. She's 9 months old and she's never heard her daddy say he loves her. She doesn't know what it feels like to be wanted by the man who helped create her. Ashley reached toward him again, babbling in that way babies do. Mitchell's composure finally cracked. Emma, please. Please what? Please don't let everyone see what kind of man you really are. Please don't make you face the consequences of your choices. I shifted Ashley to my other hip. You walked out on us, Mitchell. You left your pregnant wife for another woman and never looked back. You let your daughter grow up thinking she wasn't good enough for her father to claim her. You prioritized your reputation over her well-being. The room was completely silent now. Even Natalie had stopped crying. But she is good enough, I said, my voice breaking just a little. She's perfect. She's smart and happy and beautiful. She deserves a father who's proud of her, who claims her, who fights for her. I looked around the room one more time. Since Mitchell won't be that father, I'll be both parents. I'll love her twice as much. I'll fight twice as hard. And I'll make sure she knows that her worth isn't determined by the people who abandon her. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mitchell, the court date for child support is next Tuesday. Don't be late. Again. As I walked out of that country club, I could hear the chaos erupting behind me. Raised voices, accusations, the sound of relationships imploding in real time. But I didn't look back. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new house. A modest 3-bedroom that I'd been able to afford thanks to Mitchell's back child support and my settlement from the fraud case. Watching Ashley take her first steps. Mitchell had been ordered to pay $2,800 a month in child support, plus cover Ashley's health insurance and childcare. The court had also awarded me damages for emotional distress and fraud. I'd used the money to finish my accounting degree and start my own bookkeeping business. Natalie had left Mitchell 2 months after the shower. Apparently, the public humiliation and the stress of the legal battles had been too much for her. She'd moved back in with her parents and filed for divorce, claiming he'd deceived her about his financial situation. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mitchell had tried to reach out several times wanting to meet Ashley, but only after his lawyer explained how bad it would look in court if he continued to show no interest in his daughter. I'd declined. He'd had 9 months to step up. He'd chosen not to. Catherine had been the biggest surprise. She'd shown up at my door 3 weeks after the country club incident, looking older and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. I want to meet my granddaughter, she'd said simply. You had the chance to meet her 9 months ago, I'd replied. You chose to call her that situation instead. Catherine had stood on my porch for a long moment, tears in her eyes. I was wrong, she'd finally said. I was so angry about Mitchell's divorce, so worried about what people would think. But that little girl is family. She's my granddaughter. She's always been your granddaughter, Catherine. The DNA didn't change that. Your son's lies didn't change that. The only thing that changed was your willingness to acknowledge it. In the end, I'd let her meet Ashley. Not for Catherine's sake, but for my daughter's. Ashley deserved to know her grandmother, even if that grandmother had failed her initially. Catherine had held Ashley with tears streaming down her face, apologizing over and over. She'd been coming by weekly ever since, bringing gifts and offering to babysit, trying to make up for lost time. Mia knocked on my door as I was putting Ashley down for her nap. You'll never guess what I heard, she said, settling onto my couch with a cup of coffee. What now? Mitchell's dating again. Some woman from the next town over. Apparently, she doesn't know about the whole scandal. I shook my head. Poor girl. Word is she's already talking about marriage. Wants kids right away. Some people never learn. Mia studied my face. Do you ever regret it? The way you handled everything. I thought about it. About that day at the country club, about the choice I'd made to fight back instead of just quietly accepting what they'd done to me. No, I said finally. I regret trusting Mitchell. I regret not seeing the signs of his affair. I regret letting them make me feel ashamed when I had nothing to be ashamed of. But I don't regret standing up for myself and for Ashley. You saved yourself, Mia said. And you saved her. I looked toward Ashley's room where I could hear her talking to herself in her crib, probably planning her next adventure. I gave her something more important than a father who doesn't want her, I said. I gave her a mother who will never let anyone make her feel like she's not enough. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, my lawyer. Mitchell missed another child support payment. Want me to file for contempt? I typed back quickly, absolutely. No more chances. Mia raised an eyebrow. Still fighting. Always, I said. Not for me anymore. For her. She deserves every penny of that support, and she deserves to know that her mother will never stop fighting for what's rightfully hers. 6 more months passed. Mitchell had been held in contempt twice and had his wages garnished. Natalie had given birth to a son and was struggling as a single mother, working 2 jobs to make ends meet. Catherine had become one of my strongest allies, helping with childcare and proudly showing off photos of Ashley to anyone who'd listen. The town had long since moved on to other scandals, but the damage to Mitchell's reputation had been permanent. He'd become known as the man who abandoned his pregnant wife and tried to deny his own daughter. Not exactly the kind of reputation that attracted quality women. As for me, I was thriving. My bookkeeping business had grown beyond my wildest dreams. Word had spread about the woman who'd stood up to her cheating ex-husband, and somehow that had translated into clients who respected my backbone and work ethic. Ashley was walking now, chattering constantly, and developing a personality that was equal parts stubborn and sweet. She had Mitchell's determination but my sense of justice. She was going to be formidable. On her first birthday, I threw her a party in our backyard. Nothing elaborate, just family and real friends, cake and balloons and lots of laughter. Catherine was there, playing the role of doting grandmother with enthusiasm. My parents had driven in from out of state. Mia and Claire helped serve cake and kept the toddlers from destroying my flower beds. Mitchell wasn't invited. He'd made his choice a year ago. As I watched Ashley smash cake all over her high chair tray, laughing with pure joy, I realized something important. I'd won. Not because I'd gotten money or because Mitchell had faced consequences. I'd won because I'd refused to let his abandonment define us. I'd refused to accept his version of our story. I'd created a life for Ashley and myself that was better than anything we'd had before. A life built on truth, on fighting for what's right, on never accepting less than we deserved. Mitchell had given up his chance to be part of this beautiful, chaotic, perfect life. That was his loss, not ours. Ashley looked up at me with cake in her hair and chocolate on her cheeks, and she smiled the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. "Mama," she said clearly, reaching for me with her sticky little hands. "That's right, baby girl," I said, lifting her out of her high chair and holding her close. "Mama's here. Mama's always going to be here." And as I looked around at the people who'd chosen to stay, who'd chosen to love us, who'd chosen to be part of our real family, I knew that Mitchell walking out on us had been the best thing that ever happened. He'd set us free to become who we were meant to be. And we were magnificent.
After listening to today's story, perhaps it has raised some new questions in your mind, or maybe it has brought back some old memories. Every day on Reddit, new experiences and moments create fresh stories, and they connect all of us. Everyone has their own unique journey in life, and we all try to understand the world in our own way. These kinds of moments remind us that we are all human, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, and always learning something new. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to share it with your friends. Your thoughts and feedback are always valuable to us, as they motivate us to create even better content. Every story has its own unique angle, and our goal is to understand everyone's perspective and make our content diverse and relatable. Stories like these help us realize that life's journey is different for everyone, and by hearing other stories, we learn something new. You can also share your own stories with us. Your experiences are valuable to us as well, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave your feedback. We aim to create content that brightens your mind and gives you new ideas every time. If you've already seen this video before, your feedback is still important. With every piece of feedback, we can improve our content and bring a new perspective to our viewers. Today, what we saw was just a small part of the many stories shared on Reddit and across the world. It's a reminder of how we all try to understand life by sharing our experiences with each other. This video was only an example of how we try to connect with others through storytelling, learning about different sides of life. We hope to continue sharing such stories that help us all learn and grow together. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more stories coming soon. If you haven't already, please like and follow for more amazing content. Your support keeps us going, and we will strive to bring you more thought-provoking and heartwarming stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious. **.